Well, well, well. The first round of the playoffs is over, and it went like we all said it would. Here's what we learned. There's not 12 teams that can win a national championship, right? Did anybody not know that? We know that now, if we didn't know that. Any given year, there might be 4, 5, 6, give or take. Maybe you could stretch it out a little more than that, but probably not, right? Don't get me wrong. Love the 12 teams, love more games. We all like college football. It's fun to watch. But the reality is we're going to have a lot of games like this unless we seriously change the way it's going to be. Make the playoffs 12, make them 15, make them 28. It doesn't matter. There's not going to be north of somewhere around 4 to 8 teams, 8 being a very high estimate of teams that are truly capable of winning a national title. I heard a fine gentleman on YouTube today say this. The question from here forward should be this. Can you go in to Ohio State Stadium? Can you go into Texas's stadium? Can you go into Penn State Stadium? Could you go into Autzen and Eugene? Could you go into one of those places and compete with those teams on their best day? If the answer is no, you don't belong in the playoffs, okay? It's as simple as that. The problem is if you're breaking it down by most deserving teams or the best record teams, we have the right teams, but we don't have the 12 best teams. So what do we want? Do we want the 12 best teams competing for a national title, or do we want to be nice and give it to those who deserve it the most? But welcome back to the video, Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're in the garage again. We're going to talk about some more college football. Might make a few more of these videos as the playoffs go on. I think we're going to get to some more competitive games. I think the best is still yet to come. So stay tuned, drop a like, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be talking about it right here. How about Ohio State? Right? There's not a team in the country right now that competes with that Ohio State team if they play anything like they just did. If Will Howard is dropping dimes like that to that receiver core, their running backs didn't put up big numbers on paper, but if you guys watch the game, they got them in the key situations that they needed them, which is sometimes more important than just putting up big numbers on paper. That was a great team. That was an elite level team. If Oregon plays anything, not Oregon, if Ohio State plays anything like they just did, Oregon is in big, big trouble. Clemson actually made a fairly decent showing for themselves, which I don't want to say was surprising because Dabo's usually going to have his boys ready to go on these kinds of stages. But they hung in there a little bit better. Wasn't an overly competitive game after a little bit, but they didn't get flat out embarrassed, right? SMU got absolutely embarrassed. What's different to me about that game versus Tennessee and Ohio State is, as I mentioned, Ohio State last night had one of those games that I don't give a damn what team we threw in that stadium with them, they were going to beat them. Any team this year, even a lot of years. That Ohio State team that played last night, ooh, that was, I mean, that was one of the best performances from a college football team I've ever seen myself. They looked elite. That's a hell of a team. Can they continue doing that? Can Will Howard keep it up, right? That's the big question mark. When Will Howard is playing like he was last night, he might be the best quarterback in the country. When Will Howard B comes out, he is terrible, horrible, right? We'll see what happens. The Oregon-Ohio State game, how do I think that's going to go? That's a game that I won't really be surprised however it goes, right? If it comes out, if we go out there, you guys know I'm an Oregon fan, so this is truly non-biasedly. I won't be all that surprised if the game comes down to the final seconds like it did last time. If it goes to 3 or 4 overtimes, also won't be that surprised if Ohio State comes out and just hammers them. I won't be that shocked if Oregon comes out and just clobbers them, right? That's a game that could really, truly go any way. If Ohio State looks anything like they did the other night, Oregon's in big trouble. Georgia, Notre Dame, news came out today. Carson Beck probably not playing. That makes things very interesting, right? I don't tend to write a team like a Georgia off immediately when they don't have somebody like Beck, because Beck is far from innocent as a quarterback. When Beck's on, man, he's incredible. When he's off, though, oh my goodness. But backup quarterback is a tough proposition going up against a team like Notre Dame who's very solid, right? Notre Dame isn't quite in that upper echelon just in terms of football and roster and things like that. They're damn good. They're damn good. They're very consistent and they're solid. So it's going to take a great performance to beat them, but they are very beatable, right? Is Georgia's backup quarterback, Mr. Stockton, can he do that? We really don't know. That's kind of a wild card, right? The reason I don't write him off is look at a few years ago, me being an Oregon fan, I remember this very clearly. Ohio State's down to their third string quarterback and we still can't beat them, okay? Not because their third string quarterback was anything bad. He was fabulous. Cardale Jones was an animal. Turns out they had 3 elite quarterbacks that particular year. Is that the case for Georgia? We're going to find out. ASU and Texas. You guys know I'm from Oregon. I now live in Arizona. I work in Tempe. Everybody I work with, we got a lot of Arizona State fans. We even got some Ohio State fans, and we got me. I'm kind of the lone Oregon Ranger, right? But Arizona State, man, they could surprise a lot of people in the Texas game, okay? I do think Arizona State is going to score points. I don't know if it'll be enough to keep up with Texas, right? That's the big question mark. That's the same concern I have actually for Boise State and Penn State. I think Boise State will put up points, but I think Penn State's going to put up a lot of points. I don't think Boise State has the defense to play with Penn State, if Penn State looks like they just did, for 4 quarters. Right? I think Penn State is likely to score a lot of points. I don't think Boise State's going to be able to outrun them. Kind of the same thing I'm getting at with Arizona State, Texas. Okay? I would say Arizona State is probably the most likely upset of the week. You could argue them and Notre Dame, but if Georgia doesn't have their starter, is it that big of an upset? Because like I say, Notre Dame is a damn solid team. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Arizona State at least makes a good showing for themselves. Oregon and Ohio State, like I say, that game is a flip of the coin. Could truly go any way. But a bigger topic. Do we need 12 teams in the playoffs? No. No, we don't. It's fun. I mean, it's fun, sure. Give the little guys a shot. Give some teams that had no chance of ever making it, let them get in there. But damn, we need to get the 12 best teams. But it's a very slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. You can't make conference championships mean nothing, right? But does anybody think Clemson should have been in a 12-team playoff? Does anyone think Clemson is one of the 12 best teams? I don't. I really don't. You know why? Because we saw them play Georgia. They got throttled. They lost to South Carolina. It was a good game. It was a good game. But they lost. They lost to Louisville. Now, I don't hold bad losses against some teams as much as I do others, right? Because once in a while, you see those games where a team that really shouldn't even be on the field gets the win. It's a big down week for the other team. I mean, things happen from time to time, right? But still, it's really hard for me to sit here and say that this year's winner of the ACC deserved to be in the playoffs. The only better argument you had for that was if it was SMU. Would they have been undefeated, or did they have 2 losses? Were they 1 or 2 losses? Whatever. They had a little better record. But I don't know. Does Boise State deserve a bye week? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the byes should have been Oregon, Georgia, probably Texas, And who would you put fourth? A Notre Dame, maybe? I don't know. One of those teams. This is, I mean, it's a real problem because we can't, if you keep it up the way we are, we're going to have uncompetitive blowouts all the time. Not that there weren't blowouts with the 4 teams, Ohio State and Tennessee, that was a blowout, right? But like I say, anybody watching the game can tell the difference between Ohio State, like I say, no matter who you put on that field that night, they were getting beat. That was one of those nights, if you guys are UFC fans, like I'm a big UFC fan, there's nights where you watch somebody compete and it's like, man, that was the best guy that night, right? That night, nobody was going to beat him. That's what we just saw from Ohio State. So again, guys, we knew what was likely to happen in that round. And we were right. We were right. We got to change the way the playoffs are. How exactly to do it, I don't know. There's a reason I don't work there, I guess. But we all knew what those matchups were going to go like, and they went exactly like we thought. And that's how it's always going to be. So they got to change something. What will they change? I guess we'll find out. But drop a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.